Some of my clients rely on 10 years lawful residence to apply for indefinite leave to remain, and some of them have been away for more than the required 6 months or more than the 18 months required for long residence. So in other words, that's the pathway through which you can spend 10 years in the UK and then apply for indefinite leave to remain. Now, at the moment, there's no express guidance from the government about how such absences should be treated, but I want to deal with it now. So the starting position, as you can see from the screenshot here, is that you've got 184 days maximum and an overall maximum period of 18 months. So that's calculated as 547 days. So if you go over either of these periods, then you break the continuity of your leave. That at least is the default position. But there's some guidance saying this: if you've been out of the UK for more than 18 months, so as I say, 548 days, so one more day than the 547, then the application should normally be refused. However, it may be appropriate to exercise discretion over excess absences in compelling or compassionate circumstances. So that's one test. For example, where the applicant was prevented from returning to the UK through unavoidable circumstances. Unavoidable circumstances. So through some of COVID, it was possible to, in other words, physically possible to travel to the UK. In fact, through almost all of the COVID period, international travel did not cease, even when there were internal lockdowns within the UK. But in many other countries, the position was much more strict. So for some of my clients' cases, I've been relying on periods in their local country. One of them, for example, being China, where there were very severe lockdowns, and it was literally not possible during certain periods, depending on where you were, to travel, either internally or to take international flights. But in other cases that I've dealt with so far successfully, these applications have gone through. People have been, we've been able to argue together that family members were ill, or it was simply not responsible. It was not the responsible thing to do to travel internationally in the circumstances. Maybe they had been exposed to COVID, so there was a risk of them spreading it, or they had a family member who was vulnerable and it was appropriate for them to stay with them. So in all of these circumstances, it was physically possible to travel, but due to some circumstances, including their subjective perception of things, it was not appropriate to travel. Now, the other language used around here is particularly compelling circumstances. And what the guidance says is if the the excess absences have been towards the beginning of the 10-year period, then the caseworker is more likely to ask you to wait until you've accrued the 10 years. So in other words, refuse the application now and ask that person to reapply. But with COVID, of course, this is as recent as 2020, 21, 22. So these are all going to be recent absences where the caseworker needs to make a decision on the basis of the facts as they are now, rather than refusing it and asking someone to wait to accrue additional time. So as I say, although there's no express guidance dealing specifically with COVID, there is this overarching regime for compelling and compassionate circumstances, and it is possible to rely on those in the context of long residency applications. If you do want help with these applications, I'd be happy to speak with you. You can get in touch with me using my consultation service just on the link below. Thanks, bye for now.